Hello everyone, this is your host Paul Gaither, this is Madden NFL 2002, and the point of this video is to look at the rosters and show you what I have done with the rosters over this last year or so since I've been making videos of Madden 2002. And not all of them are recent updates, but by request, people have asked about custom rosters. So the very first thing I'm going to do is go here to load. I'm going to show you I have the default roster loaded, but it's also not really the default roster off of the disk, but a modified version of it in a little bit. So the default roster has its full free agency set up. So if you put the game in and you go into free agency and you're like, my free agents don't match in terms of like, I've got all these other guys there. I tried to apply like 80 and above, though clearly these two players as 80 are not on a team. I tried to go 80 and above overall players and put them on the respective teams they belong on, and even some of the little bit lower overall players, but I specifically targeted 80 plus overall guys that would be signed in franchise mode by the computer. I tried to put them on the correct teams they belong on, and in the process of doing that, I also found some players, that would like switch teams or whatever through the preseason or whatever, like getting cut, getting traded, even before week 1 of the NFL started. So I went in and made those jersey number changes and roster moves that you would expect going into the first week of the season. However, there are other players who would go on to retire and would not play in the NFL in this season. And so I also took the time to either put them back on the team that they were famous for, or tried to put them on a team that made logical sense that they might have signed for. I tried going to their Wikipedia page and see if they were offered by other teams, or they just retired because of injury, or what their story was individually. And I'd kind of like to show you some of that here. So let's go to maybe just regular old view rosters. Some of the things that come to mind is I go to the New England Patriots, and I gave them Ben Coates. Like, he retired. He didn't play for another team as a 77 overall. He's not even in the 80s. But Coates is in the game. And I put him, hey, Patriots, they've got this at tight end, so give him Ben Coates. Similarly, Bruce Armstrong is in free agency as an 85 overall, 14-year pro, and career Patriot. And in real life, the Patriots drafted Matt Light, who becomes their starting left tackle, and a very, very good left tackle at that, which you can also understand why, you don't continue this contract, for example. But in Madden 2002, you can't edit a player's position, at all. Let's just go to, there's 4 quarterbacks here. Let's go Tom Brady. Let's edit his information, position is grayed out. You're not allowed to edit players' positions until at least Madden 2004, if not 2005. 02 and 03, you can't edit a player. It doesn't matter. It's if you have too many running backs, then you can switch them over to fullback. No, it's not a thing. I'm pretty sure my Madden 04 franchise played until it breaks. That was part of the problem, is even in 04 you can't switch a player's position. I don't know if you can do that before starting a franchise and you're just locked into it during the franchise, but I don't think you can change it at all. But what does that mean? It means literally I'm stuck with Matt Light as a guard. I can't turn him into the left tackle. I can't do things like that. So one of the other side things that I did is I went in. Oh yeah, this is what I did. Okay, you're going to see it in my custom roster. In my custom roster, I go in and I manipulate players' ratings to try to make them more in line with what we expect or anticipate them to be. I'll go into the details in a little bit of how I went and did all of that. But basically, I turned Matt Light's ratings up, cranked him up, whatever, and made him the starting left tackle regardless, the fact that he's a guard. And then I had Bruce Armstrong, 85 overall, basically play right tackle because, again, look at how bad their tackles are. So, with that in mind, and we're going to go back to it otherwise, let's go to load custom roster. And rosters. And view roster. And let's go back to the Patriots. And let's go to right guard. Did I make him a superstar player? No. But Matt Light becomes like a multiple Pro Bowl, like starting / star left tackle in the NFL. So you can see, I basically went into Madden 03, Madden 04, Madden 05. I went into these different games and I looked at their physical ratings and I looked at their attributes, their pass blocking, run blocking, awareness, like all that kind of stuff. And I projected what it would take based on my experience and testing for these players to progress into who they would really become in future Maddens based on the way that Madden 2002 does its progression. So I made him a 79. He's not even an 80 overall rookie. But he has the potential to become, and he most likely will become, a very good player. And you can see, like, he's not even 70 awareness, right? And then pass block, run block, they're not even in the 90s, though they'll eventually get there through progression, right? That's a common example. So then you go to the depth chart, and you see I make Matt Light the starting left tackle, and I make Bruce Armstrong the starting right tackle, and Andruzzi would play guard for New England, along with Compton and Woody here. Woody would play guard with the Jets later on, but he was a center. And it's like, yeah, this is much closer to their actual starting offensive line, other than the fact that Bruce Armstrong is on the team. And Ben Coates retired. He's not on the team. So it's not identical. And Terry Glenn was moved to the Green Bay Packers before the trade deadline in the regular season, but he was on the roster for week 1. So I didn't just force him to the Packers. Like, I can, and I actually make him like the third string because, not that he deserves to specifically be the third string, but I believe that was part of the issue with him and Belichick and all that, is there was like a discrepancy. There was, you go read the Wikipedia page, but basically Brown and Patton were the starters. And so I don't mind having Glenn being like the slot receiver who's also a threat. And there's like matchup problems that can create for the defense and everything if you're like using it and we're playing. But those are like little things right there. And obviously what I think a lot of people have noticed, I skipped over quarterback and I went backwards this way on purpose. It's obvious I went in here and improved Tom Brady, who's like a 54 overall. Did I make him a 99? No. I made him worse than Drew Bledsoe. And I actually reduced Drew Bledsoe, I think, a little bit. I have to go back and look to see if I actually did reduce him or not. No, I don't think I reduced him because in Madden 2002, they actually drop his abilities. Like, every franchise I've run, he actually decreases abilities when he shouldn't. He actually gets hated on. But Brady's an 81, right? 80 awareness. Throw power and accuracy. In the game, if you just simulate and you put Bledsoe as the backup and Brady as the starter, and you just let Brady progress through the natural ability of the fact that he's 1 year pro and like 23, 24 years old, whatever, he progresses into the kind of player that we see in Madden 2003, 2004, and so forth. Like Madden 03, he's an 84 overall. So they're saying after his Super Bowl season, going into the next year, EA felt Tom Brady was an 84 overall quarterback. And that's fair, because I feel Tom Brady truly got into his own, truly became a league's top quarterback in terms of like the Tom Brady we know, really in 2006. The year before the undefeated regular season and 18-1 season, he was like truly an elite quarterback, like 96 plus overall, if you call that in Madden standards. When he literally had no receiver weapons, and he was just like, his top receiver was a tight end, and his number 1 receiver on the team was Ricochet Caldwell, rest in peace. And they were like, imagine if Brady actually had weapons, and then they went and got weapons, and they went undefeated until the Super Bowl. And it was like, yeah, we need to surround this kid with weapons. He's like a true elite quarterback in this league. But there were doubters and haters at the time, and I don't want to derail this video, but like Brady's an example. As a 54 overall in the game, he gets flushed. Like, he doesn't progress further than maybe a 63, 64 overall in the entire game. He doesn't have a chance to play. And even when you force him, I think he retires at like 6 years pro or whatever, because he ends up just becoming a player and just get literally, if he doesn't physically retire, I think the game literally flushes Tom Brady out of the roster. Like, it's really bad. Like, you have to force him onto your team and keep him at least as a backup for so long, and the game will eventually just say his career is done. They don't even want him to be a journeyman. So, put him to an 81, and the way this video game has his contract, if I recall, he becomes a free agent. If you just simulate the season and Drew Bledsoe doesn't get hurt, I think the video game only has it as a one-year deal, and he becomes a free agent to go to other teams. So that's another thing that's really important, is he has a chance going into being years pro 2, in his third season with these ratings to actually start for teams and compete for jobs against other quarterbacks in the league and do something, not just for New England. And if you're controlling New England, you can obviously trade him to the Bills or Dallas or whatever, teams that he would really play for. You can do whatever and like have Brady. And you do well with him, I believe he can get into the 90s and all of that. Not just I believe, it's going to take us to the next quarterback that I want to talk about that's related to this, and that is Drew Brees. In my 49ers franchise, if you've watched it, he becomes a 99 overall from a 72. Like, I put Doug Flutie as the backup. I let Drew Brees start. Otherwise, he gets like held back in his progression. But if you let his rookie year suffer but go through the growing pains, his 68 awareness, his 80 throw power, his 82 throw accuracy, he ends up getting like 99 throw accuracy. Like, can we load it up and actually see? Let's not just speculate. Let's actually like look at it. Let's go to load the 49ers franchise. We're at the end of year 7. So let's go to rosters. Let's go to the Chargers. 97 overall, not 99. But unchanged. Unedited. By the way, let's go to the 49ers. Yeah, like, I don't even have Tom Brady anymore. If you watched my franchise, I signed Tom Brady as a free agent. I don't even think he's in the game at this point. Like, I'm pretty sure Brady has already been removed from the roster. Like, this franchise was not done with the modifications that I was showing you. And he becomes a 72 to a 97 overall, 6-year pro, 91 awareness from sub 70, like 60-something awareness. And his 80 throw power goes up to 88 throw power. They say he gets 8 better at throwing power and 98 accuracy. In fact, I think maybe he even lost a point of accuracy. I thought he was as high as 99. But you can see that unedited Drew Brees, just given a chance to play. And I said, yeah, he suffers year 1. Like, look at that. 19 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, 20 and 18. And then in year 3, he goes up to 20 touchdowns and 8 picks. He decreases those picks, and then he increases the touchdowns, 29 and 10. And then he had like a down year there, 22 and 18. Then back up to a decent 25 and 14, 21 and 12. Like, you can see the completion percentage. You can see the yards, right? I believe he was hurt in year 3, because you can also look at the attempts are like nearly half of what they would become. So he had the potential to have an even better year, but had it cut short to injury. But you can see I don't even really need to edit Drew Brees. He becomes an elite quarterback in the league, in the default roster. So we back out, unsaved changes, yes. And we go to options, memory unit, load default roster. And we're going to go back to the custom roster in just a moment. But we're going to again talk about here. View roster, Chargers, quarterback. Like, I don't need to edit him. But we go to the Patriots. And sorry, I thought 54. 51 overall. Right? They're saying 50 awareness, 81 throw power, 65 accuracy. Like, that's how they rate him as this number 4 quarterback. And it's like, are you going to like argue or disagree with EA's perspective of this 4th string quarterback that was like argued if he should be the backup or starter in Michigan? Right? Like, you can understand why they rated him like they did. But we change it and actually show that he can compete for the job. So Bledsoe I did increase by about 2 points of overall. Because, again, he does get hated on. And I gave him the 98 throw power because I believe in Madden 03 he ends up with 98 throw power in Madden 2003, Madden 2004. Like, this game undervalues his throw power. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. So that's an example. And I go through many quarterbacks and make changes. And we're going to look at the custom roster again in a moment. But right now, we've gone through multiple rabbit holes to get us to the fact that on the default roster, I placed players on respective teams. So I'm a 49ers fan, and we go in here, and it's like I put Ken Norton Jr. back on the Niners. He would go on to retire and would later coach, linebackers coach for the Seattle Seahawks. And despite the fact that he's on the roster, if I remember correctly, I have him as third string. Second string here. I usually like to have like Jeff Ulbrich and all that. I think one of the reasons I did this is because as a user, I put Ulbrich. But when I'm simulating games, and I think this is what the roster that we're using with the 31-team franchise, is he gets playing time, right? But Derek Smith is still the starter in the basic 4-3 defense that the 49ers run. And Ken Norton goes out there and plays in the 3-4 defense, backs up Smith if Smith were to get hurt, if Smith were to get too exhausted, and Ulbrich has a chance to play as well. But yeah, those are the kinds of things like I make those changes. So let's also look at a few others. The other big one really that I wanted to talk about before moving on was here. Mark Carrier did not play for Tampa Bay. He's an 83 overall free agent who retires. And I put him on the Buccaneers. He did not get an offer from any team. And I started looking around the league. And I'm like, what team would really hire this veteran 83 overall safety? It's like, definitely not the Browns. They've got Mike Brown, who's an excellent player. And it's just like, are you going to like upgrade from 79 to 83 just in terms of the overall and pay money and all that for that? Like, no. Maybe. And it's also like, who would he want to play for, right? Like, okay, Nate Clemens and Antoine Winfield, very good corners for the Bills, and they've got an 81 overall here, and it's just like, who would need him? And then I narrowed down the list of who he would actually play for, and as I started going through the list, I'm like, wow, this is a team, Tampa Bay, that's in dire, desperate need of a free safety in terms of overall. 64 and 54. Whereas 88 overall corner and 83 overall corner in Rondé Barber, who's an absolute legend. So Donnie Abraham and Rondé Barber, who I think Rondé Barber is the better of the two corners in real life. And obviously 96 overall John Lynch. Like, this secondary just needs one other player on an already elite defense. And you say like, oh, well, the rich get richer. Like, yeah, that's fair to say. That's a fair observation. But I'm like, if you're Mark Carrier, and there are how many teams that need a safety? Like, it could be the Chargers. No, sorry, not the Chargers. 83 overall. No. Oh, yeah, the Chargers here. 65 overall. I hit the wrong trigger button. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it could be the Chargers. They could definitely be a team. They were on my, like, finalist list. It's still that idea, like, it's Carrier's last year. He's going to retire either after one season or two seasons in this game, because in real life he would have already retired. Are the Chargers really going to make a Super Bowl push? Like, they're not. They're in a rebuild mode. Like, they truly are. So I made my list, and I'm like, who even needs that safety? Who's going to really target that safety? And it's like, then who fits? And it's like, as a Niner fan, like Zach Bronson, like, he played for us and all that. Like, we don't need Carrier to, like, go over the top or whatever. And it's just like, you keep looking, you keep clicking, and it's like, Patriots, like, they played to Bucky Jones, you know? Like, they could use it with Malloy and Ty Law, and they did go on to the Super Bowl, and they were definitely in my list of finalists. But it's like, do you really need to push them over the top when they actually did, like, win the Super Bowl in real life? Raiders getting an old player is nice. They actually did get Eric Allen and all that. Like, the Raiders would be a signing spot, but again, 79 to 83, just a few points overall, and they've also got a backup right here. It's like, not really. Like, he left Washington, so he's not going back. Like, I thought about it, and just, I think you can see, like, here, Steelers, right? Steelers would be solid. They were in the championship game. He would help them out. So, I thought NFC, AFC, like, go down south. right? The whole thing about not sales tax, income tax in Florida, all that. Like, there are a few other landing spots that you could argue that maybe you could argue that he should go to, but I decided to put him with Tampa Bay and just lock up that secondary. So enough about Mark Carrier, but he's just an example of several who I just went in and I said, like, I'm going to put this guy on that team and that guy on this team. Strickland is a free agent. Dat Nguyen is the starter. But I put him as a middle linebacker because this game does randomly pull out the 3-4 defense when you're playing it. So we go to Cowboys and we go to middle linebacker, and Dat Nguyen is the starter, even though he's the lower overall. But when they go 3-4, they have Strickland out there, and it's like their backup is here. Like, they're going to have a 53 overall middle linebacker when they go 3-4 because the video game does that. They'll just randomly choose 3-4 defense from once in a while because it's in all the playbooks. So at least they got Strickland out there, and he was a famous Cowboy and retired. So I think not only you get the point, but you get to see many of the examples of, like, how did I resolve it. So, custom roster. This one was painstaking, but worth it. And we go into said roster. And I went in team by team, quarterback by quarterback, position by position, and started looking at, like, who are the disrespected, underrated quarterbacks that deserve an increase, and who are the overrated, didn't do anything quarterbacks that maybe deserve a decrease or a second chance or that kind of thing. And it's like the Bears, nobody. The Bengals, like, maybe Kitna could use an increase or whatever, but I think even when I looked at the Bengals, like, not just the Bengals, but Kitna in future games, it's like he's just all kinds of okay. Took my sip of coffee. Here, Brian Greasy is a bit overrated. I didn't want to mess with Steve Berline. They're both a bit overrated. I could drop them off. But between the injury and the age, it's like he just becomes a non-factor in future years. Like, he retires and everything. Greasy could use a hit because I believe in my franchise of, let's go, memory unit, load, 49ers, Brian Greasy ends up becoming like an elite quarterback, I believe. Because he's young and his dad was famous and was Bob Greasy. And yeah, he becomes a 95 overall. And there's not much you can do about it. They give him, like, they just keep hyping on him with all the accuracy and throwing power. And plus in this game, like, they would win Super Bowls and stuff. So, like, the video game does consider achievements as part of the development. Let's go to memory, and custom roster is still loaded. Great. It's really tough with Greasy. Like, maybe I should make him an 81, 82, 83 overall, something like that. But because of his youth, like, maybe drop his awareness a bit. I think that's one that I still need to go in and re-edit. Because he doesn't deserve to be, like, a superstar player. Sorry, Brian Greasy, I like him, and he's even the quarterback coach of the 49ers right now. So I think that maybe is one that I overlooked in terms of dropping. The same thing you can say with Berline, Couch, and all them. No. Ryan Leaf, blah, blah, blah. Plummer is someone that I increased and gave him a chance to become a good player otherwise. Drew Brees, I said I didn't need to touch at all. Doug Flutie's the backup, and he just falls off the face of the earth. Trent Green, I believe I increased, and he gets a chance to be a very good quarterback, and he would be a very good quarterback for Kansas City for those few years. Manning, no reason to adjust him. He's already elite. Nothing here up or down, neither for the Dolphins. Nothing here. Vic, pretty much leaving Vic alone. Like, the game literally increases Vic to be a 90-plus overall quarterback in this game, and his speed does, in fact, go up. And his abilities go up. If anything, I think maybe I touched his accuracy. Touched up a little bit, but it was never, like, great high-end accuracy. I made Steve Young. But that should not be in the custom roster. It should be in custom, too. That's weird. Okay. Maybe I saved over the wrong roster. Do I have... No. Okay. So why is Steve Young in this roster? He shouldn't be. Well, since we're looking at that and we saw it, we might as well talk about it real quick. Steve Young had a career-ending concussion in 1999. And if he hadn't had a career-ending concussion, if he just played, like, where would it be, the what-if story? 16 years pro, same age as Dan Marino, if I remember correctly. Maybe 1 year older. I don't remember exactly. I think 1 year younger. Maybe same age. I don't remember right this second, but it's about the same. And it's like, he could still technically have played in the league. And I mentioned Dan Marino. Why? Because he's got to be in here, right? Edit player? Yeah. I made Dan Marino, Deion Sanders, and Drew Bennett. Okay? Drew Bennett is a wide receiver for the Titans who was like an undrafted free agent or whatever. It was very good. Yeah, same age. Dan Marino and Steve Young, same age. I basically went in and I found their Madden 2000, which is the 1999 season, ratings. And I fed them through later Madden games and had them age 2 years. Because 99, 2000, 2001 is just 2 years later. And that's what their regression. And I made their ratings equal to what I felt they should be based on what Madden showed me in terms of, like, Steve Young loses speed, Dan Marino loses that. Their awareness remains incredibly high. And the hits that they take to the throwing power and throwing accuracy. And based on the Madden numbers, when I created them, I don't know, Madden 6, Madden 7, whatever, as 38-year-olds, and then made them 39 and 40 years old, the game, like, said, hey, this is where they are. Because Madden 2002, like, drops them so hard. Like, Drew Bledsoe, as I said, he plays 1 year, Brett Favre plays 1 year, and they just get tanked. Okay? But Madden 6, Madden 7, Madden 8, whatever, those games, like, they don't, like, hit the old players as hard. So I fed them through that game, and they still, like, lost skill. And I think they usually retired after 1 year or whatever. And they definitely didn't go to 40, so then I made them, like, 39. With decreased ratings I wrote down on a notebook. But that's what I made them. And that's how the game potentially projects they would have been if they'd been in the league. So, let's take a look at that a little bit deeper. Deion Sanders. He is a player, and I thought I had Steve Young in free agency as well. I don't know why Steve Young is actually on the Niners. I must have saved it by accident. But the point is that Deion was looking to be a Raider, if I remember correctly. Like, after Washington, the talk was him, with his retirement and stuff, getting a deal done to go to Oakland. And we know that he would come out of retirement and that he would play for the Ravens, obviously. But I made him, and I made him again based on the Madden numbers that we saw. Like, he's not as fast as he used to be, but he's still really fast. Side note with that, let's go to Redskins view roster. And Darrell Green is still in the game at 18 years pro, and he's still very fast. Right? He's not the highest overall, but he's still very fast. Well, in a very similar way, Deion Sanders is still very fast. Even based on, like, I think it's Madden 5, Madden 6, one of them. They don't have his picture either. One of the games, but when he came out of retirement, I believe he played 2 years with the Ravens out of retirement. And it's like, based on those, and made him even, I think, a little bit better than in those games. Because I think he's like an 86, 87 overall, whatever. I made him a little bit better version. As a corner at age 34 instead of age like 36 or 37, whatever. Yeah, age 37 is when he came out of retirement. He wore number 37 with the Ravens, that's right. So I just tried to make him, like, respectably very good. Like, 99 awareness, you can't get any better. Have the high agility, have the high catch, and all that stuff. The carry, the jump, like, the tackle rating. People say, oh, well, he wasn't a good tackler. Well, I mean, he's still a decent tackler. Right? He's not as good as some of the other guys in the 60s, but he's also not the worst tackler either. So, yeah. Definitely made Deion Sanders. Dan Marino, all that. But let's continue. Now we have that little distraction. We were looking at the 49ers. And, yeah, I made Steve Young, and I didn't make him the starter. Jeff Garcia is. Should look at this. Yeah. Made Steve Young the backup if he wants to play or not, and he was just, like, brought there as, like, a retired player or whatever. It's also, like, the other thing is in real life, the 49ers were still, like, they had to pay his contract. So that's another thing, like, affects the salary cap, is, like, making him affect the salary cap. So in some ways it also makes it realistic, because he's actually costing the team money in real life, and so is Jerry Rice. So, like, that's kind of interesting. That's a whole other thing. Because, you know, the dead cap space and all that. But let's go back to view roster. And apart from that, yeah, I made Tim Rattay a little bit better. If I remember correctly, I think I made him a tad better. He ended up like starting for them for one season. He's not a great quarterback or anything, but I think he's like I think that's what it is. I think Tom Brady's the 51 and he's 54 overall, and it's like I made him a 68 overall. Not significantly better, but serviceable. Nothing to look at here or here. Chad Pennington made a little bit better, if I remember correctly, and gave him a shot because he ends up becoming a very talented quarterback for the Jets. Not elite, but very talented. Keep going. Nothing to really see here. Obviously, Doug Peterson becomes a coach in real life, but that has nothing to do with his skills as an actual quarterback. Jake Delhomme. Jake Delhomme is on the Saints in real life, and he would go to the Panthers. And so he doesn't technically belong on this team, but they have like rookie Chris Winkie, who's like, I don't know, like 27 years old or something. And I forget the other quarterback that they had. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to put Delhomme on the Panthers in advance because the Saints, they already have Aaron Brooks, which I also dropped Jeff Blake, who's rated higher, and Aaron Brooks is rated lower. So I like made roster moves so that Aaron Brooks would be the starter. But even with Jeff Blake, it's like Jake Delhomme is very similar to Tom Brady. The way it is he's just going to rot. The other thing, he's going to rot on this team and not even get a chance. Let's go! 8-Bit Summer or 8-Bit Joy. This is the Retro Bowl song. Let's go. Let me close that. Yeah, it says Retro Bowl theme song. Retro Bowl theme song, 8-Bit Joy. 8 years ago, this music was posted online, and it's royalty free. And so the creators of Retro Bowl found it, liked it, obviously got it and used it, and so the title was changed to Retro Bowl theme song because that's what it's famous for. But this channel that we're playing music from has fantastic royalty-free 8-bit style music that multiple retro style games have not been stealing from, been using. And I guess apparently the creators of this royalty-free video game music channel, Hartley Bros, they retitle their videos whenever famous games or games use their music. They get the original title, like 8-Bit Win, 8-Bit Joy, 8-Bit Adventure, but then it also says, like, Victorious Overture, whatever, featured in whatever game, like, right? Like, when some of these are actually used in games. It's really nice. Love it. So, back on topic here, I give Jake Delhomme a chance. Okay? He's not going to be like a superstar, but he's got a shot. And just like Drew Brees and all of that, he can become the very good quarterback that he would be for, what, like 5 to 7 years-ish or whatever. And then he would eventually fall off. There's a championship game where he threw like 5 interceptions. It's like he led his team, he led the Panthers to another championship game, nearly a Super Bowl, but threw like 5 interceptions, and then his like career was done. I love this coffee. It's really good. So yeah, gave Jake Delhomme a chance. Tom Brady a chance. Mark Bulger a chance. I think he's like a 58 overall, maybe a 61 overall. He's something, but I gave him a chance. Right? And like even if he goes to another team, it's just like that being in the 70s gives you a shot. Mark Bulger would be like a 90 plus overall in multiple Maddens. But that's a thing. So you want to trade for him, whatever. Like I increased him. Elvis Gerback, Cunningham, George, Blake, Jeff George. 94 throwing power even at the years that he's at. And I might even be like underselling his throwing power ability. As I said, Brooks and Blake made some changes there. And increased Matt Hasselbeck a bit. I think he's like a 71 or 60. I don't know exactly what he is, but it's another one of those like give him a chance and actually have him start over Trent Dilfer in the depth chart. Because again, if you just make him a certain amount of good enough, the progression system will make him like a 90 plus overall quarterback in the game, which is like what he becomes in real life. And Trent Dilfer as a backup and a solid backup and maybe demanding to be on another team or whatever. But yeah, get the point. So I mess with that. Cordell Stewart would go to the championship game in Madden 03. He'd be rated like an 80 or whatever, and I think he's like a low 70s. on the default roster. So I made some changes there. I gave some more love to Steve McNair, who would later get co-MVP with Peyton Manning, and I think was underrated and done dirty by Madden 2002. Culpepper, no reason to make any changes or whatever, but those are the quarterbacks. And then running backs should be relatively easy. Anthony Thomas is better than the default roster. Rudy Johnson is like a 54 or 51 or whatever overall. So he gets a boost because he ends up actually replacing Corey Dillon with the Bengals. I don't really remember any need here. Don't really remember changing anything here. Clinton Portis has not been drafted yet. He's still playing for the U. Nothing. I think Dunn is just fine where he is. I think Pittman is more or less the same, and Thomas Jones is more or less the same. He would later be a Bears running back, a solid one, whatever. Like, maybe he needs to be edited a little bit, but I don't think so. Possibly with Thomas Jones, I need to go in and do something. Tomlinson, I believe I edited Tomlinson a little bit more. Like, 87 overall rookie. I think he's like an 81 or whatever. Let's go to normal. Let's go to options, memory unit, load default. Oops, I hit double click. Okay, whatever. Let's go rosters. View the Chargers halfback. Yeah, 80 overall. 89 speed. Sub 90 speed for Tomlinson. Are you kidding me? Carry 81. Break tackle 83. Catch is solid, 64 awareness, all of that. And then we go to memory unit and load custom. And the point is, I think just as early as his second year in Madden 03, he's already rated as like a 90-something. What am I doing? Roster here. It's like starting franchise, just like subconsciously. The Chargers halfback, 87 overall. Yeah, I think he becomes like a 90, 91, 92, something like that. Yeah, his speed is like dogged on. The strength should be better, awareness a little bit better. Maybe I left the carry alone as it was, the break tackle, whatever. But it's just like little changes. I used Madden 03, Madden 04, where he's like a 90 plus, and then ends up becoming like a 95, 97, whatever overall. And it's like, no, like he's not just an 80. He's even better than that. And he should, in year one, progress close to where he is in Madden 03 on the default roster, which is, like, good. And it's like, are you going to argue that Tomlinson isn't an 87 overall rookie running back his first year? Like, really? Like, no, he's better than the 80 that they projected him as. I love this coffee. I've said before, just so everyone knows, I drink Juan Valdez instant coffee. Like, hate on me, whatever you want. I don't drink straight black coffee. I love plenty of sugar and milk in my coffee. Like, I'm not a huge coffee fan, but it's like, to me, it's like, some people are like, hey, you're diluting that delicious coffee with sugar and milk. And I'm like, it's bitter and I don't like it just as straight black coffee. Rather, I like the twist of Juan Valdez coffee along with, like, the milk and sugar. And that makes it a delicious drink, and everyone each to their own, right? Priest Holmes, he gets a stat boost. He's like a fantastic running back that was underrated by the Ravens and would go on to play with Kansas City. Don't need to change anything there or there. Don't really need to change anything in any of these spots. Buckhalter was like okay as a runner, but yeah, like I remember his name and as a backup for Deuce Staley. Maybe I increased Deuce Staley, I don't remember. Maybe he needs to be increased. I think he should be like an 86-ish overall. Off the top of my head, I think maybe he needs a little bit of a boost. Left Jamal Anderson, like he ends up crashing in this game anyway. We saw in my franchise, you don't need to do anything about Kevin Barlow. He has like a good 3-year run in his career and then just falls off. And you can see in my Madden franchise, like especially if you start him, he like becomes good and then he can fall off. So there's no reason to change anything. Garrison Hurst, maybe I made a little bit better because he ends up getting a much higher rating Madden 03. Like he ends up being better than I think they gave him credit for. But I don't remember if I made any adjustments to him. Tiki Barber carry. That's the thing. He had multiple years with fumbles. 9 fumbles that year, and he would not fix his fumbling for like 2 or 3 more seasons. Like, people remember him as it's like great runner and blah blah blah. It's like if you didn't grow up watching these games week in and week out, year in and year out, like I'm not a Giants fan, but like you follow the football, we follow the NFL, and it's like the dude I think had 2 to 3 years in a row of lots of fumbles, and it's like he finally figured it out and he finally did something about it. And the back end of his career is where he got like most famous. But him and Ron Dayton, it's like I don't think I should adjust the carry quite yet, right? Nothing to see here. Lamont Jordan, I think, got a little bit of a boost. Kevin Falk, no, I don't. I think Antoine Smith, I gave a little bit of a boost, closer to Madden 03 levels. Tyrone Wheatley, maybe. I think that's about it. Deuce McAllister gets a little bit of a boost and a chance, I think. Sean Alexander definitely got a boost. He ends up becoming an elite running back in this league. I think that's really it for the running backs. A little bit of a speed boost for Michael Bennett, I believe, because I think they had him at like 92 or something. They had him, I believe the fastest running back in the game is, yeah, Marshall Faulk at like 93 speed or whatever. I think I give him to 94. I think I like increased some of these speeds closer in line to the other Madden games that we're accustomed to. And Michael Bennett went up with like 98 speed in like Madden 04. And was like one of the fastest running backs in the league. So, and I think he only had like 91 or 92 speed with Falk being at 93. And I'm like, okay, let's bump up Falk to 94 overall speed. Like not a lot, but a little bit. Thomas and all that, like set a different standard here for the running back position. We're not going to go through every single position, but you kind of get the point. Like the big thing for fullback is Lorenzo Neal as an elite run blocker. He does not have the love that he deserves. So it's like, I think increase the awareness a little bit, but it's also the run block. And it's just putting him in line with where he is in the other games. Like, look how much better he is at run blocking than everyone else. Like, yeah, just like in real life. He's like one of the greatest run blockers, maybe the greatest run blocker in NFL history. If he's not number one, he definitely belongs at the top of the list, like in like the Mount Rushmore of run blockers. And he's like not given that credit in this game. So that's mostly what to say about fullbacks. Wide receivers, oh, this is going to take some time. Tight ends, I think, are easier to talk about. Maybe, yeah. You know what? Let's do wide receivers. Let's have that conversation. Nothing here. Bengals a lot. Nothing Bears that I think of. But Chad Johnson's a rookie, and he gets a boost. And TJ Hushmanzada, who can't even have his full name, you know, TJ Hushmanzada, Hushmazod, Hozumazoli, TJ Who's Your Mama. If you've seen that draft commercial, if you haven't, maybe I'll link it in the description. Fantastic NFL draft commercial, like those fantasy draft things. But he's like a 58 overall, 51, I don't know, whatever. But it's like, I don't make him like super fast or whatever. I just like make him decent. Like he'll have decent awareness with the opportunity to get better. He'll have decent catch. Like he has decent abilities because he becomes a very solid receiver for the team. So it's that constant thing you've heard me say over and over. Give him a chance. Chad Johnson becomes like a multi-Pro Bowl, like fantastic wide receiver. So again, they give him a chance, let him play, right? So the Bengals were a lot of changes. Bills, I don't think anything. Broncos, not really anything to change. Rod Smith's already really good. So is Ed McCaffrey. All of that. Don't think there's much to change here. Keyshawn Johnson's already good and nothing else here. Boston Sanders, like nothing to really change. Nothing here. Nothing comes to my mind. Reggie Wayne is like a 77, 73. I don't know, whatever he was. I make him an 81. Give him much closer ratings to the top receiver he ends up becoming. But again, you don't make him super elite, but you give him a chance, especially with Peyton Manning, to grow into that elite receiver. Harrison's got 5 years on him. Harrison's going to be in his 6th year when Reggie Wayne is in his 1st year. So like he's already a veteran and elite. And Reggie Wayne is going to mature as Harrison gets to like 10 years pro and all that, when by the time he's 5 years pro and everything. So yeah, he gets the real chance to become the star he is. And he still is really good in the default roster, but he could be better. And again, just constantly realigning it to what the other Maddens are like and adjusting what I think he'll progress into when he simulates. Cowboys, don't think there's anything much to talk about here. Neither with Miami or the Eagles, who desperately needed receivers. The Falcons, no. No changes really with the 49ers. I really like Ty Streets. Like, I'm a fan personally as a 49er fan of Ty Streets. He was like Mr. Third Down for the team, but it doesn't mean that he deserves to get a big increase. I think the difference is Cedric Wilson. He might have been like a 51 overall or something, like along those lines, maybe 52 or whatever, but it's like he's not that terrible, and it's his son who I think who is playing in the NFL now, if I'm correct. I think it's Cedric Wilson Jr. or something Wilson, that's his son, who's actually like a better receiver than Poppy, you know? So, but Cedric Wilson would play multiple years in the league and would be just all kinds of solid, and I think he would later go to the Steelers and all that. So again, just that constant, like, give him a chance. Take him from, like, a very low rating and, like, give him a shot. Don't think there's anything here or here. Coles and Moss got a boost. I think Crabette was at the top, and I think these two players who had long, talented careers, not just being fast, but they had a real shot to become something. And they were rated, I don't know, like 67 or whatever. We can go look. I think that's too low. But I have this memory of adjusting Coles and Moss. Maybe it was only one. We'll find out. View roster. The Jets. Yeah, Moss and Coles. 60 and 75. Right, like, you can see that. Let's actually go here since we're looking at that. Let's look at the teams we've already seen so far. So, wide receiver said nothing. TJ, 55. Chad Johnson, 68. Like, come on. Yeah, like I said, nothing to really change here. I don't think there's anything. 73 overall. Made him the 81. Right? Don't know if I changed this or lowered them. I don't think I did anything. Thrash, all them. Mathis, all that. Like, yeah. Wilson was a 52. No, sorry. 55. I made him a 66 or whatever it was. Like, okay, he's, like, less terrible. You know, get a shot. Yeah, so then we can keep looking here, and we'll show you what I actually did do. I believe Herman Moore's another example. Player that's in free agency, and I put him on a team. Because, I mean, seriously, like, look at their backups. 52, 49, like, put him on the roster, let him be the third string, fourth string wide receiver, like, let him be there. He retired anyway. Yeah, Donald Driver, 51 overall. Definitely increase him. Steve Smith, senior now. 62 overall rookie. Yeah, no, that needed to change. We saw, yeah, Terry Glenn with Brown and Patton and all that. And I think he got dropped to like 81, 82. We'll look at it again. Did I drop him at all? I don't know. I don't remember. But Troy Brown and Patton got those changes. We're going to look at it again in a little bit. Jerry Rice, I think maybe Tim Brown, but definitely Jerry Rice got an increase. Ricky Prohl, no, sorry. Aziz Zaire Hakim. Aziz Zaire Hakim, I can say it right. He wore 81 before Holt switched to 81. So, like, that's a thing. Ravens, not much to see. Maybe Stokely. Stokely! Down the sidelines! What? Like, he ends up playing for the Colts and the Broncos and a few other teams. And it's just like, but there's no reason to really change his ratings. I don't really see anything. Horn, maybe. Gerald Jackson, maybe. Hines Ward, 75 overall, and Plexico Burst, 72 overall. And Hines Ward not even being a good run blocker. Not even the best run blocker on the team, let alone the league. Right? He's got 3 other receivers that are better run blockers than him on the team, let alone the league. Like, there's certain things that needed to be changed about both of those players. Don't really think I needed to change anything here or here. They're already, like, elite. So we can go back to the memory unit and the custom rosters. And we were last on the Jets. So yeah, you can see Coles and Moss got a shot to become who they are, especially Moss being injured for 9 weeks and Corbett starting. So Coles and Corbett as starters, and then Moss getting a chance, and then Corbett, like, I think retiring after not too long. But yeah, like, real shots at being talented players. Donald Driver here ends up becoming an even better player. He's only 2 years pro here, but he becomes the starter along with Freeman, who I also think retired, or shouldn't we? No, he did play for them, but it's a few years away from retirement. Like, I don't know how old he is, but he didn't have like a long prolific career. You see 6 years pros, and you're like, wow, really? Like, he was really big in the 90s when they had their Super Bowl win, the Super Bowl appearance, and then it's just kind of whatever. But Donald Driver, being one of the 2 starters, has a definite shot at progressing into a top receiver. At only 2 years pro, he can still do that. And I said Steve Smith. Now, here's the thing with Steve Smith. We know he's an elite receiver, and you can see he's like a 90-something plus in the other Madden games. And depth chart, what I did here is I didn't completely bury him, but I put him at 4. So if they go 4 wide, Steve Smith will get his chance to play. But he wasn't given a shot in real life for a little while. So I made him the punt returner, kick returner, like all of that, like he was absolutely at in real life. And when the game goes into the first off season, into the second real season, and they readjust their rosters, Steve Smith will be one of the starters. Like, by the computer, like when they reorganize their depth chart into the next year. So that is a reason why I did what I did. And it also progresses the fact that, like, maybe like as a progression he'll only get a few points because he doesn't start yet. But there you go. He can still become an elite receiver, especially as an 84 overall rookie, and not getting maximum progression because he's not a starter. But he can get a little progression, then become the starter, and then become the elite guy that he is. So I think that is really fair and interesting. Yeah, Troy Brown. Like, he's not going to progress into a 99 receiver. He's 8 years pro. Like, he's really close to his cap. But I think he's like 88, 90, 91 overall in like other Madden games. And it's like, at least make him very good. Yeah, I left Terry Gilliland alone. David Pat went from a 66 to a 75. He was never a great receiver, but he was a solid player. And that's exactly it. Just solid. Not trash. Jerry Rice, 80 to 84. Yeah, he was an 80 overall, and it's like, make him a little bit better. I'm not even making him as good as Madden 04 version, but it's like, don't dog on the kid. The old man. But, you know my point. Holt, Hakeem, yeah, all that's fine. Stokely, yeah, it's all the same. Okay, same thing here. I think maybe Westbrook got a little bit of love. No, it was Gardner. I think they got a little bit of love there. Horn, and that's really it. Daryl Jackson there, as we said, yeah, it's like, get some love. Yeah, Hines Ward is a fantastic receiver in the NFL. And it's like, did I make him 99s and stuff? No, not even 90 speed. The strength is good. It's not even a joke, 86 awareness for number 86, but it's like, yeah, he ends up having like 90 plus awareness. At 3 years pro, he'll get there. Agility, acceleration, like solid hands, not elite hands, but like in that upper echelon. Not the most jump or whatever and all that, but like run block, like he leads the league. So if we go to NFL, all wide receivers, all run blocking, and he's much more in line with the later Madden games I saw where they ranked him as a run blocker. And yeah, I like make him a top run blocker. And I think I increased him a bit because he also becomes a top run blocker in the league as well. Like, they're both famous. The Steelers receivers were famous for being good run blockers, but I didn't make him like super duper duper elite. But he's in line with the other guys that liked to be physical and run block, from Jerry Rice, Tim Brown, all of that. But yeah, we go back to the Steelers, and you can see that they have their weapons, right? Yeah, I made Drew Bennett. So he was an he was an undrafted free agent, and would become a decent player for the team and give him decent stats. And the fact that you're going to have other players retire or have a chance like to progress or do something, or maybe nothing, I don't know. But I made Drew Bennett in line with, I think, Madden 03 or Madden 04, and what he should be as a rookie. You're like, who the heck is Drew Bennett and who cares? Trust me, there's a whole story with Drew Bennett. Drew Bennett is like one of my biggest Madden rivals, and I don't mean like the real person playing Madden with me, but I mean like there are fantasy drafts and other things that I've played, like in NFL 2K5 and I think Madden 04. There's several games in a row where constantly Drew Bennett becomes like the bane of my existence as a slot receiver. Like he plays against me in the past, like Wes Welker. Like I just couldn't ever cover him. He would just, and then he would get me on a deep ball or whatever. Like I'd call a certain coverage and the safety of the opposition. It's like Drew Bennett. He would get me so many times, and I was looking. I'm like, man, where's Drew Bennett? Because he would be a rookie in this game. It wasn't there, and I'm like, it hurt me to make him. But it's just like this dude. Like, you don't know, but Drew Bennett is like my secret rival in Madden. Like super duper is. And just throw some love that way out of mad respect. And no reason to make any changes here or whatever. And that's wide receivers. We're getting close to an hour, and we haven't even finished offense or whatever. I don't know, like if I can do this faster. We can look at defense a little faster. I'm not sure. I guess one of the things with tight ends that I could say right now is there's not a lot of great tight end like talent in the league, and I tried to give love where I could. Again, constantly looking at good tight ends in Madden 03 and Madden 04, Madden 05 range, and it's like, hey, who are the better tight ends? Who are these like respectable tight ends? What are they rated? How are they? I compare that to Madden 2002 and see who needed some boosts. And so it's like Bears, whatever, keep going, don't care. Freddie Jones is a bit overrated. He goes to another team, but he still is like an 86, 88 overall in a few other games. Solid player. Tony Gonzalez obviously elite, whatever. Pollard and Dilger, whatever. Like, yeah, Pollard is still very solid. Probably a little overrated, I don't know. Don't care. Chad Lewis is already really good and becomes like an 89 or 91 overall in franchise mode. Like he becomes even better. Algie Crumpler got love. He's not elite, but he becomes a very good tight end. I think even like a 92 or 93 overall in one of the Maddens, like Madden 05 or something. But give him a chance, right? Especially as a rookie. He needs to go up like 13, 14 points of overall, but like he's got a chance and as a target for Michael Vick to throw to. Far better than he was rated in the default roster. Eric Johnson, I think he's like a 51 or whatever. He's lower than Justin Swift. And he ends up becoming the starter for the Niners. He ends up becoming like an 82 overall, which is funny. That's his jersey number. He was like an 82 overall in Madden 07, which I think is the same rating, an 80 or an 86 overall. I think he's an 86 overall in Madden 07. But in one of the other games, he's like an 82 overall or whatever. Greg Clark, rest in peace, another CTE suicide as far as I understand the real life story. But Eric Johnson, like I said, I think he's like a 51 or something overall. But like make him like serviceable. And again, like the physical attributes are pretty close, but it's like give him a little bit better awareness, give him a little bit better catch. Like he's got the athletic ability. It's like, don't need to make him an 82 overall. Don't need to make him an 87 overall. But give him a chance to start and play, and actually he can progress into a good player over the course of 5 years or whatever. Like he can get up to the 70s and then up to the 80s maybe. And so yeah, it's just like the give him a chance thing. I think it's very fair. Dan Campbell. I don't see a rating for biting kneecaps. But yeah, I think maybe I increased him a little bit because he was never like a great tight end, but like he was still a solid player. Not much here. Don't think there's much here. Wesley Walls is already an established known player. Ben Coates, as I said, just left him the way he was. Shannon Sharp, leave that alone. Todd Heap. Todd Heap. Yeah, made him better. He ends up becoming a top tight end in the NFL. Nothing more to see there. Pretty sure left him the way he was, especially at 6 years pro. Mark might have gotten a little bump because he might have been even worse, but like just like a solid target. Frank Wycheck, another rest in peace. There may be other people I've seen that I should say rest in peace to, but Wycheck, I believe, left us earlier this year in 2024 or late in 2023. That was sad. I was a big Wycheck fan. Big time Wycheck fan. Nothing more to see there at the tight end position. I'm not going to ignore offensive line, But the big change for me was Jeff Saturday. I made him a 77 overall because I think he's a 58 overall. Like, pretty bad. So I went in for a few players and gave a little bit extra love to a few players. Seahawks, I believe I made Walter Jones even better. I think I made Steve Hutchinson better. I think maybe he's like a 76 or whatever. I made him a better rookie. There's like a few players that I made improve, or I made improvements to the players, whatever. But I don't think there's really that much to talk about that I haven't already talked about. Like I said with Matt Light, with the Patriots, right? There's not too much, I don't think. So I think we can also save time and skip ahead and start talking about some defensive ends in general. Click. Leon Lett, I believe, wasn't in the league at all. Maybe he was a Bronco, I don't remember. But I think he's another one of those players that maybe he signed the Broncos and wasn't so good. I don't remember, but he might have been one of those players that just like, okay, let's put him on this team or that team. We go to the Miami Dolphins, and I put Neil Smith, who retired, on Miami, and I think I pretty much put him there because I believe I think in real life the Broncos did sign Leon Lett, who was a defensive tackle turned defensive end or whatever. I think he was a defensive tackle for the Cowboys. Maybe I'm wrong. But like they already had their defensive end situation set up, and I was like, who should Neil Smith play for, if anyone? Because he can still be useful, and I think he still gets picked up by random teams or whatever. But I'm like, okay, let's put him here, and let's make him like the starting left end as like 78 strength, and like start over these like lower overall younger players for like one season. And just give Miami like a little bit of a boost. But let's go back here. Left ends. Simeon Rice, I think, gave a little bit of a boost to Marcus Wiley. Don't really need to do anything to. Eric Hicks don't need to do anything to because he becomes like a 90+ overall defensive end. Don't really. I mean, Ekubon was like a solid player. Maybe he needs a boost. I'm not sure. Patrick Kearney got a boost. I want to say he's like in the 70s or whatever, like a 77 or something defensive end. I give him a boost for sure. He becomes a really talented defensive end and outside linebacker in the 3-4. This is good coffee. I've got like a pot. It's Stanley pot. It's Starbucks branded, the pot, but it's Stanley is the brand. And what does it say on the bottom here? It's not scratched up, but it's like black on black rubber. 21 ounces. So yeah, I load this baby up and sip on the coffee once in a while. It's really good. Falcons and Niners. Engelberger should probably be dropped to like a 78 or something. He ends up becoming like a 90+, so like I really think he needs to be dropped to like 76, 78 range. But I don't have the heart to do it because I'm a Niner fan and I'm biased and I admit to it. Not much to change there. Ellis may or may not have gotten an improvement, but he becomes an elite defensive end just like he does in real life. Not much to say here. Maybe Armstrong got a little boost because he was useful, like Madden 03, Madden 04 range. He's like a bit better. Maybe I gave him a boost, but I don't think so. Little, I don't remember if I maybe need to boost him because I think he ends up becoming like an 80-something overall for the Rams. Maybe I missed that. While I'm on the Ravens, I just want to talk about Adalys Thomas. Well, became like a 90-something overall outside linebacker for them in the 3-4. This Ravens team, like you may think like, oh yeah, they're a 3-4. Actually, in this year and the previous year, they were a 4-3 style team. And especially when they had Sam Adams and Tony Siragusa as two big defensive tackles and Michael McCrary and all of that, like they really are a 4-3 defense. And they only have this rookie Hartwell here. Ray Lewis, yeah, they were a 4-3 defense, and they switched to a 3-4. And I think Hartwell is like a 51 or 56 overall middle linebacker. And he ends up becoming like a 90+ middle linebacker. And for a little while, he has like a good stint. So like I increase him to be like less terrible. And when they do go to a 3-4, and when the video game does, for every team they have 3-4 looks. Hartwell's like a decent middle linebacker for them. They've got ball aware. They've got Jamie Sharper. I think Sharper got a little bit of an increase. He ends up becoming a middle linebacker for some teams. Again, going to the 3-4, Sharper would move to a middle linebacker kind of position. He'd be an off-ball kind of a guy. And then I believe he got the Texans job as a middle linebacker in the 3-4. But yeah, and that's one of the reasons why they were able to move on is because they felt fine with Hartwell, and they also developed players so well that Adalys Thomas would become an outside linebacker for them, but as a pass rushing outside linebacker kind of a guy. So what I like to do is put Michael McCrary at left end. He's an 83 overall. And Adalys Thomas as a starting right end, and then Burnett backing up both of them, like in rotation with his solid strength and everything. So, like, that's the thing. Let's go back to left ends. Keep going through here. Maybe I improved Howard. I definitely improved Aaron Smith. Kimo von Oelhoffen already had a decent rating, but Aaron Smith was underrated for sure. Think I didn't have to do anything with Carter, anything like that. And I think we're ready to go to right ends. Justin Smith, just a tiny little boost. I think he's like a 79 or an 81 overall, but like make him just a little bit better, increase a little bit the strength, increase a little bit of the ability. Yes, I'm biased because he becomes a legendary 49er whenever he becomes an unrestricted free agent from the Bengals. The Niners pick him up and he plays the rest of his career with San Francisco, but he was also very talented. Like, he was a high-end free agent pickup. Like, everyone expected him to be very good. Like, he was a first-round draft pick, like a top draft pick for a reason. He lived up to it, but he wasn't like an elite edge rushing, like, he's not like, what's the names I'm looking for? He wasn't like a sack master kind of guy. He wasn't a Von Miller. He wasn't Khalil Mack. Like, he wasn't like that. He played 3-4 defensive end, right? He's like a 3 technique kind of guy. So, but still, like, it fits. So I gave him a little bit more love, aside from the fact that he already comes into the game as a pretty good overall player. Don't think there's much to show off here. Courtney Brown has his situation. Kyle Vanden Bosch, I think I need to increase him a little bit. I think he becomes like a very good Steelers defensive end. I think that's a player that I might have overlooked as well. But 68 as a starter, I think still improves into like the 70s and then like the 80s. So maybe I don't need to. I can recheck that later. Ellis becomes an elite player, and he ends up joining my 49ers franchise. Jason Taylor is elite. Hugh Douglas is elite. Brady Smith. I think Brady Smith was even lower, like a 68 or a 64 overall or something, and I made him like a little bit better. Andre Carter, I don't think I needed to change at all. Abraham, maybe I made Abraham better, but he was a known elite pass rusher. Rutger. So, in the defensive line, Chris Jenkins, the father, because I guess he's got a son named Chris Jenkins as well, so Chris Jenkins Sr., and Mike Rutger were very good. These are players, like, this is before Julius Peppers. Julian Peterson's a 49ers linebacker. Before Julius Peppers was drafted and played for them, they had an elite defense when they played against the 49ers. And if I remember correctly, it was Rutger, it was Jenkins, it was, I think, Morgan, and I think another like young player, like rookie or 1 year pro by 2 years in the future version. Like, they almost, if not all, suffered a variation of career-ending or career-altering, like hamstrings, tears, whatever, all that. Now, are there reasons, like enhancement drugs or something? I don't want to make accusations. I've heard rumors, but they're just rumors and suspicion that may, like, make you more susceptible to that. But the football's a violent game, and I don't want to buy into the conspiracy theory. But if I remember, even Buckner was like really good. But I think like several of these guys, like the Panthers, suffered a massive injury bug. Like, when they played the Patriots in the Super Bowl, they looked like a team that was going to be stacked for like 4 to 5 more years, and their contracts and their skill, and it was just like everyone but Julius Peppers like suffered massive career-ending injuries or career-altering and damaging injuries where they just become a journeyman backup. because they weren't who they once were anymore. But yeah, Rucker definitely got an increase there. Willie McGinnis, I think he's only like an 86 or an 88 in the default roster. Made him a 94. He's an elite outside linebacker slash defensive end pass rusher. I felt completely undervalued. And literally in the other games, he's like 95, 96, 97, whatever, a linebacker. Like, he becomes like even more known because they go on that 3 Super Bowl victory in 4 years and is one of the more important players on that elite defense. Obviously, Ty Law and, you know, all these other guys, but like Willie McGinnis is one of the key elite defensive leaders among multiple great players on that team. And even 86 or 88 overall does him dirty. And I brought him more in line with who he actually is. And you might be thinking, Paul, where's Richard Seymour? Wasn't he a rookie this year? And the answer is yes, as a defensive tackle. And I don't know if I changed him. Maybe he was a 78, maybe he's a whatever, but he improves to like a 95 and whatever overall kind of guy. Like, he becomes elite. So there's not much that I need to change there. But at 7 years pro, McGinnis is going to do nothing but stay the same or decline. So he needed an increase. Not much to share here. We've already talked about this situation. Bruce Smith is Bruce Smith. He doesn't need to change. He didn't have a great year that year. It's towards the end of his career. Talented player here. Kimo Van Olhoffen, we already talked about that. The freak curse, there's nothing to change there. That's defensive ends, defensive tackles. Also should be relatively easy to understand. They've paused the music and it says, do you keep playing? Like, are you actually there? And the answer is yes. I haven't disappeared. Pat Williams, I think I increased or need to increase him. He becomes a very good defensive tackle for the Vikings. May or may not have changed Price. May or may not have changed McFarland. Jamal Williams becomes an elite nose tackle in the NFL. He becomes like a 95 plus in other Madden games. I make him a talented 90 strength player that has a chance to increase. And should probably increase him even more. Scrolling, looking. Like, there's nothing to really change here. Stroud, I made better as a rookie. Stroud and Pat Williams. No, Stroud stays with the Jags. Who was it? It was Henderson and Stroud with the Jags. They had Henderson and Stroud, which were really good. Walker ends up being a defensive end for the Texans. The Bills. Is it 2 Williams? Because there were 2 really good players for the Vikings at defensive tackles. But Pat Williams was one of them. So yeah, I'm like distracting my own mind here. But yeah, Marcus Stroud ends up becoming an elite defensive tackle, and I give him a chance to do exactly that for the team. Sean Rogers becomes an elite nose tackle, and he's sitting behind a very talented player as well, and was like a top draft pick. And I give him the ability to become good. And I think I'm even underrating his strength, but I think his strength ends up still going up to like the 93, 94 as a rookie. Like, they do progress things like strength and all that in this game. Just like they progressed Michael Vick's speed into the 90s, even though he's only like 88 or 89 in like the default roster. Don't think there's much to change here. Maybe I put Gilbert Brown on the team. I don't remember. Or Santana Dotson. There was someone. No, these guys were big time when they were in the Super Bowl. So no, that's why I recognize their names. But yeah, no, there's nothing really to change here for them. I already talked about Chris Jenkins, and I increased his ability to become elite. Richard Seymour, we talked about. Russell, he passed away, was killed, I believe, or died. I don't remember if it was a car accident, it was a gun accident. I really don't remember, and I'm sorry, but he had a problem, didn't he? Didn't he have like off-the-field issues and suspensions and stuff like that? We got to look it up, but it's a really sad story. But he was an elite player, and it was just like, I think he's not alive anymore either. I think it was just like off-the-field issues caught up to him, if I remember correctly. Not much else to say here. Glover is like fine. John Randall and Cortez Kennedy. Yeah, Kennedy is another guy that's in free agency. He doesn't have a team, and I put him back on the Seahawks to give him that one last run with John Randall and all of them. Casey Hampton, that's another rookie I increased. He becomes an elite nose tackle in the NFL as well. Yeah, I think we're good. That is their linebackers. Colvin maybe gets an increase, but I think he just gets overrated, an undeserving overrated contract by New England. But I think they give him like an 80 overall in another Madden game, but then they have to drop it again down to like 74 or whatever. So it's like he can increase into like what he actually is. Maybe I can increase him, but I don't see the point. I think we can go like relatively quickly through these as well, especially left outside linebacker. Morgan, I don't think he needs an increase. He ends up becoming like a 90+ linebacker for the team. Mike Vrabel. You're like 78, you increased him? Yeah. They give him number 56 because that's what he wore with the Steelers. Madden 03 has him still wearing 56. Even though he had a known number, he already changed it to 50 as a Patriot. Madden was so bad they didn't even change his number the year after he already changed his number. But yeah, he wore 56. And I obviously edit some of the equipment and stuff with some of these players too that I really care about. But Mike Vrabel, I think, is only like a 66 or whatever, 71, I don't know. But I make him like a talented guy because he was never known for his athleticism. He was known for his like awareness, his ability, his being a clean tackler, that kind of stuff. So it's like I give him the awareness and the chance to get even better, and I give him the solid tackling skill, the chance to get even better. And it's just like an all-around solid player. And I think 78 is still underrating him, but I don't try to make these guys like super elite guys. I try to give them a chance to like be competitive though. Yeah, gonna talk about it anyway, but LeVar Arrington didn't sign with the NFL Players Association, so he's not technically in the game, and they give him like a different number, like 58 or something, and they call him like linebacker 58, and it's like actually he wore 56, and his name is LeVar Arrington, and all of that. So I make that little edit and change, because I can. Left outside linebackers, though, we're gonna keep going, and as we pass through here, not much to say. Bullock probably needs another boost, though he's mostly known for his athletic ability, which he has. Bullock could probably use a boost. Right outside linebacker, then we'll go to Mike's, because we're looking at outside linebackers in general. Spikes is elite. Brooks is famous. Rest in peace, Junior Seau. Donnie Edwards will later become a middle linebacker for the Chargers. And a talented Mike. Speaking of Mike, there's Mike Peterson. Coakley, solid player. Brooking, I believe I gave some boost to. He becomes a star middle linebacker. I think he's an even lower outside. I might have to change him even up some more. I don't want to make him super elite, but he was a solid player. Let's keep going. Bruschi got an increase for sure. He's never going to become an elite physical talent player, but he is like a 90, 92, whatever, middle linebacker in a few other games, and he's young enough to still go up to an 87 or whatever, to have his ability increase, and he plays middle linebacker, obviously. Roman Pfeiffer, yeah, whatever. Keep skipping through. I believe I increased Jamie Sharper's ability. LeVar Arrington doesn't need an increase. He ends up becoming like a 90+ linebacker in just a few seasons. He ends up getting good boosts. He's a well-rated player. Porter, I don't think I needed to change at all. Maybe he went from 82 or 83 up to 84. Maybe I made a few little boosts to help him out a little bit more. That's outside linebackers. So to the Mikes. Obviously, elite doesn't need to change him at all. Wilson maybe got a little bit of love. McKinnon maybe got some love from memory. Dat Nguyen, yeah, he was rated lower than Von Strickland, and I gave him love for sure. Zach Thomas doesn't need it. He's awesome. Jeremiah was a bullfrog trotter, and then he would get that nasty big contract with Washington, and then got cut, and then came back to the Eagles. And then I think he left the Eagles again for a little while, and then came back a third time or something, but Yeah, Jeremiah Trotter is a very talented player. Tuggle may have increased. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's just how he is, and he's going to retire in a year or two. Derek Smith, I gave him a little boost. If you remember, Norton was above all of them, and Ulbrich was like a 62, so I made it a 74. Derek Smith was never like a great linebacker, but I want to say in Madden 08, I want to say him and Patrick Willis have like the same overall rating on the default roster, and it's like 86 or 84 or 83, something like that. But like Derek Smith is a solid middle linebacker. He was not elite, and at 4 years pro, he's never going to become a 90 plus. But gave him a little boost. And keep scrolling. Don't really think I had to change any of those at all. London Fletcher, maybe give him a little bit of a boost. He becomes a fantastic linebacker. I think he goes to the Bills and then he goes to Washington, if I remember correctly, but he was already really good with the Rams. But like his contract comes up and he just becomes an elite linebacker in the NFL. We already talked about Hartwell. Kendrell Bell. He's a rookie that's like a 66 or something. I made him better. He ends up becoming a top middle linebacker for a few years and then falls off. He ends up getting a contract with Kansas City. Godfrey, some good stuff. Those are linebackers. Great secondary. We talked about I put Deion Sanders in the game. I may assign him to the Raiders or whatever the team that he wanted to be on, or just let him be a free agent for the full year and then get signed the next year if he doesn't re-retire in the game. Walt Harris I made better, but he's still just a 69 overall. Clemens and Winfield as better. They would end up both going to two different teams. The Niners would end up giving Clemens a big fat contract that he probably didn't deserve, and Winfield becomes one of the best corners in NFL history, in my opinion, and he does that especially with the Vikings. So I absolutely love and respect Antonio Winfield. He's not like the top 5, but maybe 10, maybe 15. Like, I am a big-time fan of Winfield. I could probably come up with 15 names better than him, but it would, like, challenge me. Goodness, I love this coffee. Walker O'Neal, one or both of them, I think, had a little bit of an increase just from, like, being trash to less trash, I think. Rondé Barber gave him an increase, as you saw. I think it was, like, an 82 or something. Increased him. Don't see anything special. Patrick Surtain ends up becoming like a 90-plus corner in this game. Anyway, so don't really need to change him. Might have changed one of them. Al Harris is one that I overlooked, and I definitely need to make him better. And he ends up going to Green Bay and becoming like a star for Green Bay. And I believe one of the big reasons that happened is just like when it comes to money and you had all these corners and you can't hire everyone, Al Harris is a guy I definitely need to go back in and make an improvement on, and this video is reminding me to go do that. Plummer, he becomes a 99 in my franchise as a 78. Like, this is what I'm telling you, like, when you say give a guy a chance, like, I need to, like, reduce him, because he becomes a 99 that he doesn't deserve. He was never that freaking good. Right? But I don't want to dog him down to, like, the 60s. Like, maybe make him a 72 or something. I don't know. Like, I don't want to trash him so hard that he's bad, but he progresses to a 99, and it's like, what are you doing? That's not... No. Not even close to reality. I'm a Niner fan, so I'm, like, happy, but at the same time, it's like, no, we need to make some adjustments. Aaron Glenn gets overpaid to play for the Texans. Ty Law gets more love, if I remember correctly. Charles Woodson, I think maybe I gave him a little bit more love, possibly. Don't think there's much here. Don't think there's much here at all. Boy, did Dwayne Washington play really well for my 49ers franchise. Don't think there's much to say about the corner situation, right? Safety situation. There's the Mark Carrier thing. Don't think there's much to say about free safeties. They're either known or they didn't really become anything. Yeah, like, we're already on the Patriots. As like, I think I gave to Bucky Jones a little bit of an increase, closer to his Madden 03 rating, because he becomes the starter, where I think it's Akbar that's the starter in the game, and Bucky Jones is, like, the third string or second string. And so I believe I put Bucky Jones closer to Madden 03, Madden 04 rating, which still isn't great, but, like, I think he becomes, like, an 81 or 82, and it's like, yeah, 3 years pro, like, make him like that. Don't think there's much else to say about the free safety position. It's strong safety that we obviously have to have a conversation about very soon. And it's coming up soon. And there it is. Okay, so Adrian Wilson as a rookie and Pat Tillman. Okay, Pat Tillman. Talented player. Was offered a contract with the Rams that he turned down. Obviously joined the military. I forget what branch and what service. I'm sorry, I do forget though. Was it Army Rangers or what he was? No disrespect, I just don't remember. And he died in friendly fire. And I'm just going to say it. I feel that while he was a hero for what he did to join the military after 9/11 and to tragically die in that horrible situation, I feel that people overrate him as a player. They made a MUT card, a Madden Ultimate Team card of him like as a 99. And it's just like, the dude was not a 99. And they're like, oh, he was offered like a $2 million contract with the Rams or whatever. It's like, sorry, but $2 million is $2 million, but it's not that much. Like, you know that, right? Like, you look at safeties, and it's like, oh, that's free agents. Let's go. Edit player? No, it doesn't show you the money. Trade player, release player. Release player. Like, I think maybe it was like 1.8 million or it was 2 million over like 3 years or something like how can I, but this is like 2 million a year. That's what Rodney Harrison is. In this game, they're showing you the per year number, where in later Maddens they show you the entire contract number. He's not getting paid 2 million for 3 years. He's getting paid 2 million a year for 3 years. And I believe it was Tillman was getting offered something like 2 mil for 3 years, whatever. You can find the information on your own. If I'm wrong, you can find the details. But don't think that I'm that far off. But it's like, bro, you weren't given like a massive contract. Like, I'm sorry. Like, we're sorry what happened. But it's like, he was known for not being the most athletic player on the field. And when you look at his 40 times and you look at the different combine numbers and stuff, like, they're pretty close and accurate. But it's like, I did increase him. He's a lower rated overall player. And it's like, I gave him higher awareness. Like, he had two big factors that he was known for that I will not be... I hope that you don't feel I'm being disrespectful. Like, he knew how to play the game. Like, he understood the game very well. And at 3 years pro with 86 awareness, he has a chance to become like 90 plus awareness in the game. Right? And the other thing is tackling. Like, I give him tackling, not as high as John Lynch or whatever and Rodney Harrison, but like I give him a high tackle rating. I think if we look at all NFL, can we? Oh, that's release player, that's why. View rosters, all NFL, all strong safeties, all awareness. It's like the top is 96, and I make Tillman one of the more aware players in the league, especially considering his age. 3 years pro. Lance Schulters, 3 years pro, 3 years pro, 4 years pro. Like, if you look at this, 8, 9, 7, 5, 2 more years pro, right? 8, 4 years pro, so 1 year more, and it's Darren Sharper, one of the hottest hitting safeties in the league, right? Like, okay, fine. 10 years pro, 7 years pro. But, like, of his peers, he's the first one of 3 years pro with this rating. And then 4, and then 3 again. Right? And then 3 again. So I think I do, like, justice for him, making the highest of his contemporaries of years pro experience and all that. And give him the chance to be even better. And then the other thing was tackle rating. Like, again, you look at his peers. I have him higher than other players. I have him as an 86 tackle. Is that the top in the league? No. Rodney Harrison, 91, 91, 88, like, all of that. But I make him a top player. And again, look at years pro. 7, 8, 8, 4, 5, 7, 4, 3. I make him the highest 3-year pro in tackling. 9, 6, 8, 10, 4. Like, 3 is the next one at 80. And Tony Parrish played multiple years in the NFL. Like, obviously, like, we're putting Tillman on course with his awareness and his tackling ability, overcoming the athletic deficiencies that he was known for. And I think it does respect for him. But it's also like, they drafted Adrian Wilson for a reason. Like, he's drafted onto this team before 9/11 happened, before Tillman left the team. Like, this happened. They did that. Like, they were looking to replace him with someone more physically athletic. So it's like, it's another one of those give him a chance players. And I believe he becomes a free agent in the first year, and he can go to another team, because in this video game, 9/11 doesn't happen. Because there's no break in the game, and you can't predict the future like that. And you give him a chance to become a player because he doesn't need to join the military, because that doesn't happen, and blah, blah, blah. So I think I give him respect. But when I say he's overrated, I'm literally saying, like, people talk like he was one of the top safeties in the league, and he wasn't. Like, he had a whole bunch of tackles, like, that year. 145 tackles. On a relatively bad team. Like, that's really what it comes down to. He was offered a decent contract to start for the Rams that he turned down because I believe he went to Arizona State, yeah, and he grew up in Arizona, so he wanted to rep his, like, air quotes, hometown team. He wanted to stay there, even though they drafted his replacement, and he wanted to compete for that starting job, you know, and he tackled well, right? His own team was looking to replace him, bro. And we know Adrian Wilson becomes an elite safety. So, take that what you will. But we had to have the Tillman conversation. Like, I put him on my team in the 49ers franchise. Like, I have mad respect for him. I just don't feel it's fair when people try to act like he was, like, one of the elite strong safeties of all time or something. Like I said, Madden puts him as a 99 mutt card and all that. Like, get out of here. Harrison, blah, 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 Darren Woodson, all of these guys, Schulters, whatever. Obviously, as we said, Darren Sharper, the hottest hitting safety in the league. And all of that. Don't think there's much else to say at the safety position. And no disrespect to punters and kickers, because punters are people too. But I don't think there was much to do other than give some love to Adam Vinatieri. And it's not like I made him a super kick power master, right? It's just, he was Mr. Clutch with the accuracy. He just, like, air quotes, made every kick. I'm sure he missed once in a while or whatever, but you just give him the accuracy, and he's a top kicker, and he is, and he's underrated in the game. So I make him who he actually is. And those are all the positions, and those are the key points. And so when you look at the change, it's like, yeah, these are the teams. This is who they are. I'm kind of surprised that I have Steve Young on the Niners, though I think the main reason I have that in that setting is I then make him the third string quarterback. But you saw I made Dan Marino, and you saw that I made Deion Sanders and all of that. So let's go to rosters. And let's view rosters. Let's view free agents. And you can see that Deion Sanders is on a team. Or should be on a team. Maybe I made Deion Sanders after I saved this roster. NFL corners. And I made him like an 89. And I put him on Washington. Because that was the team he was under contract for. Okay. There's your answer. At least for the moment, that's the team he was physically under contract for. And he wanted to retire, and he thought about joining the Raiders. That's what I read. And it makes sense. With Eric Allen wearing 21, I didn't want to change Eric Allen's number, and Eric Allen really did play for them. And he didn't actually play for the Raiders, though it's still a fun thought experiment. And he doesn't belong with the Ravens yet, not for a few years. And so, yeah, I pretty much just kept him in Washington under the contract that he's supposed to have. And you want to take a look at him. Let's go edit player. Let's go, like, I don't know, equipment, just to show you. So you can't have Deion Sanders' face. It's not in the game, unfortunately. At least I couldn't find one that completely fit him. It's the back button, black and white button to spin him around. But I tried to get the equipment as much as I could, matching him based on the limitations of equipment that they have in this game. So I made him, and the other one is, the big name is Dan Marino. So, You made it this far into the video, an hour and a half in, and you're watching along. Why is Dan Marino on the Pittsburgh Steelers, Paul? If you go to the Wikipedia page, first things first, apparently his contract was expired with Miami. They did not want to re-sign him. And according to the Wikipedia that I read, is the two teams that looked at him were the Vikings and the Steelers. And what I read is Dan said he didn't feel he had another year left in him with his knee. Like, the arm talent is there, the mind is there, but with his knee problems, he felt that he didn't have another year left in him. If I read it correctly, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But the Vikings were the number one team that he was looking to go to, and it makes sense. Like, they have Randy Moss, they have Chris Carter, like elite weapons to throw to. And then the other team that they were looking at was the Steelers. He's from Pitt. But you can understand that they had Dante Culpepper, and after one season with Dante Culpepper, he gets put on the cover of Madden, and he's a 93 overall player with the Vikings. So my what-if scenario with Dan Marino is, what if he retires for 1 year, I don't know, has a surgery on his knee, just has time for it to rest and heal up without the damage and soreness and wear and tear of an NFL season, but he cares about his body, and at age 39 he doesn't play in the league, but he reconsiders, especially the Vikings already had their success with Culpepper, he reconsiders coming back. And the Steelers have Slash Stewart, who in the video game they rank as a 72 overall, and I rank him up to 80 because he ends up being in the championship game. That's not why I do it, but in Madden 2003, they have him at like the 81, 82, and I put him here, or maybe as an 80, but I basically make him equal to Madden 03, Madden 04 ratings. They've got Cordell Slash Stewart. And the Steelers in real life are not happy with Stewart, and he would later go with the Bears, and they would sign Tommy Maddox, and then later they'd do the whole Ben Roethlisberger thing. So, and they were already offering Marino a job the previous year, and he said no. So I would say the offer still stands. The Steelers would host the AFC Championship game, and while they would lose to New England and mostly Drew Bledsoe, go watch that game, it's interesting. Imagine if they had Dan Marino that year. And it's like, well, he turned down the Vikings with Carter, and not turned down, but like because of his knee, yeah, he kind of turned down the Vikings. It's like, they've got the bus to hand the ball off to. Like, they have a legitimate running game. The Steelers are known for their legitimate running game. And they've got Dan Kreider, who's another player I believe that I increased the rating of. They've got Dan Kreider, they've got Jerome the Bus Bettis. They have Hines Ward and the young 6'6" Plexico Burress to throw to. Like, they have, not great, but I think Mark Bruner was a solid tight end threat in the NFL. I don't remember exactly how many years he played, but I remember him being considered a solid tight end. So it's like, you just have this all-around team. And Dawson, Hall of Famer, is another free agent in the default roster. And I said, if Dan the Man Marino is coming to the Steelers, maybe Dermontti Dawson says, I'll run it back one more year before hanging up the cleats. I'll be Dan's center for one season to try to get that Super Bowl ring instead of having Jeff Hardings or whoever as their center. And then have him retire. But so I put Dermontti Dawson on the team. Not like the Steelers need more help, but I definitely put them more in line with who they actually are by allowing Aaron Smith to have the ratings that he deserves, by allowing Casey Hampton to be who he becomes, to allow Kendrell Bell to be the middle linebacker that he would become, right? Like, I allow that to happen. There's obviously a reason why this team went out and got Troy Polamalu. I mean, why wouldn't you? But that's a couple years away. And it's like, yeah, we're going to have Dan the Man Marino be quarterback with that running game and those receivers. And an okay offensive line to protect him, but led by a veteran here. But really, the great defense, the weapons on offense, an all-around team that just came up shy of going to a Super Bowl. I think it's a good fit. And from Pitt, I don't know where Dan Marino grew up. I don't know if he also grew up in Pennsylvania. but at least his college with the Panthers and all that, it's like, yeah, let's put Dan Marino at 40 years old, try to get that ring with a great defense and a solid running game and good weapons to throw to. So, let's go. Now, edit player. You want to see what he looks like? Bet you do. I found a face that... I know it's not identical to Dan Marino, but does that not look like it? Am I tripping? Like, hold still. Like, no, that's the point. Like, in real life, people move around all the time, just like he's doing right here. Right? I think for a Madden game, for the faces to choose from, I think I did a pretty darn good job with face 54. When we talk about the hair or whatever, the hair doesn't matter when he's wearing a helmet. Right? So, let's go equipment. It's like, there you go, the 3-bar. That face and the quarterback wrist and everything that he has. I think I did a pretty good job. I saw the attributes. Like, oh, Dan Marino had such a powerful arm. It's like, yeah, but according to Madden simulations, they feel that this is probably where he would have been at age 40. And I think that's fair. I think that's plenty fair. You know? 89 overall Dan Marino coming in and leading the team. So, we're shy of 2 hours, but this is my Thursday morning. I live in Peru. It is a Catholic country, like they actually have a religion, and they have national holidays based on that national religion. And as a result, like, this is the Holy Week. You have, they call it Semana Santa. Right? Semana is the week, Santa of the Saints week, Holy Week. And Easter is this Sunday. And this is called like Maundy Thursday or whatever, like even in English. I don't know if that pronunciation is right. So it is a religious holiday, and I am off of work, and everyone's off work. The banks are closed, all of that stuff. So it's a good time to just chill and have coffee and talk Madden as it's closing in on 10 in the morning my time. Nearly 2 hours, started at like 8-ish or whatever, going to 10-ish. And those are the customizations that I have made to the roster. Hope you enjoyed them, and glad to have you here. See you in the next video.